Power and fame have more influence than you think, and it gets a lot more influential when it's not just one or two people, it's a whole family. Hey, when you've got a lot of sway in the goings-on of, well, everything. That's why today we are looking at the most powerful families in the world. Some are superstars, some gained incredible wealth very quickly, and some inherited their massive fortunes. So basically, they were born billionaires. Here's a peek into the families that are secretly ruling the world, whether you want them to or not. First on our list is the Koch family, not to be confused with Coke as in Coca-Cola, although certainly Coca-Cola has a lot of sway too. I mean, all they have to do is threaten to halt production on everyone's favorite caffeinated beverage and caffeine junkies would riot. But we kid. We're talking about Coke as in the Koch brothers and their massive business, Koch Industries. To give you an idea of just how massive we're talking, Koch Industries is the second largest privately owned company in the United States. They rake in a colossal $110 billion every year in revenue. Yeah, this is the big leagues, people. Koch Industries was founded by Fred Koch in 1940, and for years, it was owned by his two sons, David and Charles, known as the Koch brothers. David, who passed away last year at 79 years old, stepped down from his position due to health issues in 2018. But his brother Charles, who is 84, still acts as the CEO to this day. Just what kind of influence does the Koch family have? Well, due to some rather smart acquisitions, including the $22.5 billion purchase of Georgia Pacific in 2005, every time you buy your everyday supplies, you may well be putting money right into the pockets of the Kochs. Brawny paper towels, Quilted Northern, Dixie cups. These are all just some of the brands underneath the Koch umbrella. But it doesn't stop there. In 2012, they spent $7.5 billion to purchase Molex, an electronic components manufacturer. And in 2014, they partnered with Goldman Sachs to purchase a printing ink manufacturer known as Flint Group for a price tag of $3 billion. The Kochs are well known for donating hundreds of millions of dollars in support of conservative politicians. Ones that limit government, offer free trade and free markets, limit corporate regulations, and offer a more lenient immigration policy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. These guys are literally pulling the strings that guide the United States because they have the money to. Next up, let's talk about one of the most famous billionaires, J.P. Morgan. He was one of the most powerful bankers of his time, up until his death in 1913. But being rich ain't enough to get you on this list, and J.P. Morgan was oh so much more than just rich. Mr. Morgan financed railroads and helped organize U.S. Steel, General Electric, and many more giants in the industry. His father was a wealthy banker as well, but it wasn't until Morgan formed a partnership with Philadelphia banker Anthony Drexel in 1871 and formed J.P. Morgan & Company that he started to get really, really rich. After all, this company was the predecessor to J.P. Morgan Chase. He amassed an incredible fortune of $25 billion, and he was sure to use it to tilt the system in his favor. Morgan was a mastermind of the business world and used his incredible influence to help stabilize the American financial markets during the economic scares of his day. Probably his most famous achievement was his ability to stabilize the economy during the Panic of 1907. And let's not forget the time that he saved America's gold standard by loaning the federal government $60 million. But it's well documented that Morgan's critics were quick to point out just how much power he had, and they would say that he was manipulating the United States' financial system so that it benefited